Hi friends, I'm back again with another divination related video. This is not precisely a unboxing because I actually made this deck myself by hand. It is a you can see where I already burned the card, first time I ever used it. It is a mushroom based deck because I happen to be obsessed with mushrooms and I couldn't find a deck quite like it when I was looking to purchase a new tarot and oracle deck. So I thought I'd take you on a little tour. Um, so yeah, like I said, I already burned this one, but it's my own personal deck, so I don't really care that much. It's kind of like a little memento, like a little memory, kind of like how the Japanese put broken things back together and then they seal the broken cracks with gold and it makes the object more interesting. I'm kind of thinking of having these cards printed professionally eventually and selling them, but I'm not certain how that's going to work out right now. But yeah, I chose different mushrooms. I kind of went with ones that people know that are relatively, well-known mushrooms. There's so many species of mushrooms out there. It's incredible. I have been obsessed with mushrooms my whole life. I was raised, by a kind of former hippie. My mother had the what's it called? Merry Mushroom set from Sears Roebuck from the late 70s and 80s. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you do. In fact, I have some pieces of it myself. Let me get it. Ta-da! So yeah, I grew up with this whole idea that mushrooms are magical and they have this whole unique lifestyle of their own. And really, mushrooms are incredibly fascinating. The largest organism in the world is a fungus. I can't recall the exact name offhand, but basically it's the mycelium, which is the part of the mushroom that sort of takes over the substrate that it grows on, be it, trees or soil or whatever. There's a colony of mycelium in the Pacific Northwest that extends over miles and miles and miles. It's really amazing. So, like I said, I picked mushrooms that are fairly ubiquitous and I assigned them meanings based on a variety of factors: how they grow, how they look, sort of societal, I don't know how you would want to say that, connotations. Not precisely connotations, but like shiitake is a super common mushroom. It's like an old standby in terms of culinary use, right? So it made me think of like constancy and that sort of thing. I personally am a little bit of an amateur mycologist. I've tried growing mushrooms before. I actually tried growing shiitake before, and I hunt chaga because it actually grows naturally here, where I live currently. Uh, but I don't actually know that much about mushrooms compared to a lot of people. However, I hope to change that in the future. I would very much like to try growing them again. The backs of the cards, let me get one that's not burned. The backs of the cards I based on spore prints, which is something really fun that you can do with mushrooms. I'll probably do an actual real spore print on the back of them when I print them. These are just hand-drawn on each one, which was very tedious, let me tell you. But the downside of them being, hand-drawn on each one is that you can kind of tell the difference, which some people don't mind that much, some people do. Some people don't want to be able to tell anything from the back of the cards. Kind of like my burned one, I don't really care that much because the way I shuffle my cards, the way I do readings, I just do, I guess it's called shufflemancy, where basically I just shuffle and let them fall out. And I just use the cards that fall out, so it doesn't matter to me what the back looks like. That's also why I don't really care about the burn. But if there's any suggestions you have for the deck for moving forward, like what you would like to see if I were to print them, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I should do a little reading as long as I'm here. Let's do a general reading for next week. What is next week going to hold? What does my audience need to know about next week? What is something they should be mindful of next week? What is something my audience needs to know about next week? What is something they need to be mindful of? Let's do one more card. What is something they need to be mindful of next week? Just a general reading for my audience for next week. I should note, I don't intend to read these with reversals. You totally can. I just don't with these. I normally do with my tarot deck. I normally do with runes. And I kind of sort of do with my oracle pogs. I do it on like a case-by-case basis because sometimes it feels like I'm not supposed to and other times it feels like I am. But with these I just don't. I feel like they should be read face up. But if you purchase a deck when I eventually print them and sell them and you feel like they should be read face up, then reversed as well as face up, then by all means do so. So, what do we got? We got Chaga, Lion's Mane, and Moral. So Chaga stands for healing, transformation, and appreciation. So, like I was saying about how I picked the meanings for the mushrooms, I based it on a lot of different factors, including like how they grow. Chaga is a big one that I based on how they grow. Chaga actually takes over a tree, but very commonly it takes over an old dead tree. So it's kind of like transforming something that's dead into something that's living again. It's giving it new life, and that's where the transformation and also the appreciation comes in, because appreciation is more than just gratitude. Appreciation is also, I don't really know a good synonym for it offhand, but like to appreciate beauty, to appreciate the transformation that Chaga can provide to something. It's also very healing. In fact, there's been studies done that in like, I think it was walnut orchards, is in some kind of tree orchard for large-scale farming. They sprayed chaga on, like chaga mycelium on wounds in a tree, like after pruning. After pruning a tree, sometimes that fresh wound in a tree can be left open to various kinds of infections and diseases, just like in humans. So you typically want to seal a wound after pruning a tree, like a fruit tree. And so they tried spraying chaga on it, and it helped the tree tremendously. It helped the tree to heal and grow back even better. So that's the reason for this meaning. And then what else do we have for next week? We have wisdom, communication, and fearlessness with lion's mane. And then we have respect, complexity, and desire with moral. So what I'm getting for next week is that we need to be working on continuing the healing and transformative process that has been started in 2020. There's so much of this going on right now. This comes up in practically every reading that I'm doing lately. I do for those of you who don't know, I do daily, just daily one card or one pog readings on my Instagram, and that's something that comes up so often is, healing the past, which I think also is what goes hand in hand with communication and fearlessness. So many people are so deeply afraid of the concept of shadow and shadow work, and of being willing to dive into shadow work in order to, what am I trying to say? In order to transform, in order to grow as a person. Like, that's kind of part of the basis of therapy, is being willing to face your darker side and come to terms with it and integrate it, rather than just trying to push it down. It's like they say with anger, if you try to hide your anger, if you try to just bottle it all up, eventually you're going to explode. Nothing good comes from ignoring your feelings. When you heal is when you are able to feel your feelings deeply and just accept them. When you accept your feelings, let them go. In fact, there's actually been studies done that if you accept your feelings, if you just let yourself feel them rather than trying to hide them and force them to go away, they don't last long. They only last, if I recall correctly, it was around 9 seconds. When I post this video, I'll see if I can find the study and link it in the description, because it's actually really fascinating, and I've been playing with it myself lately. Like, if you feel anger about something, just let yourself feel it fully, and it'll go away so much faster, and then you won't have that lingering, like when you bottle it up, then that's when it turns into all of these shadows and everything that you have to then work through later. So learn to have that fearlessness to dive deep into your shadow work so you can transform. Be willing to communicate with people, because that's a big part of it too, is being willing to express problems with others, to communicate your problems with others, express your feelings in a healthy way. Again, rather than bottling it up. That's like the basis of a healthy relationship. I feel like I can speak a little bit to this. I've been married 11 years and I have a very happy relationship with my husband. We never fight, pretty much. I can literally, you may scoff when I say that, but I can literally count our fights on one hand in 11 years. So, that's what I'm seeing here is, respect. Your feelings may be complex, and certainly expressing them in relationships with others are very complex, but if you respect your feelings, if you respect others' feelings, if you respect other people enough to actually communicate to them what the problem is rather than keeping it bottled up, that's when good things happen. So that's what I'm seeing here. It's like I said, being fearless in being willing to dive deep into shadow work, heal yourself, and communicate with others so that you don't bottle things up, because that's not going to get you anywhere. All right. So, well, that's the mushroom deck. I'm not certain on a name yet. If anyone has any suggestions for a name, I'm kind of leaning towards Fungus Among Us, the Fungus Among Us deck, because of course I am, because it's a stupid little pun saying, and that's my jam. This one comes up a lot for me in all of the readings I've been doing for myself lately. I would love to hear anything you have to say, have to add, any feedback you have on this deck, any ways I could improve it before I look into printing it. Oyster is another one that comes up a lot for me. So feel free to reach out to me in the comments below or on Instagram. Like I said, I do daily readings on Instagram. Right now I mostly do Oracle Pogs, but I'm thinking of throwing these in there in the mix as well, like maybe every other day or every couple days. Switch it up. Right now there's 13 cards. I may or may not add more if I have these printed professionally and sell them. Again, if you have thoughts on that, love to hear it. So far, I've been fine with the 13. I haven't felt a need for more yet, but we'll see as I continue to use them in readings. I'm going to start doing more YouTube readings as well. I have a Oracle, or not Oracle, a tarot deck, an actual Rider-Waite tarot deck on the way that my post office lost. So when it eventually gets to me, I'm going to be starting to do some pick-a-card readings, and I'm planning on doing a mix of that tarot deck, this mushroom deck, and the Oracle Pogs. So stay tuned for that, and I'm curious to see how these read in that situation. So far I've been using them a lot for like clarifying other readings, which has been super helpful, like it just as an addition to other decks, which is I think why only having 13 cards doesn't bother me. Also 13 is just a good number. I like 13. So let me know any thoughts you have, and I can't really think of anything else to say. I'm rambling a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and close this video. Love you all. Toodles.